The renovation workers arrived at the abandoned villa just after dawn, when the Ubud jungle was still thick with mist and the calls of unseen birds. They'd been hired to assess the property for potential buyers, a routine job in an area where wellness retreats opened and closed with the same frequency as the monsoon rains. The villa had been empty for 6 months, vines already reclaiming the walls, the infinity pool green with algae. One of the workers, a local man named Yan, stepped onto the yoga deck that overlooked the ravine and felt the boards shift beneath his feet. The bamboo planks were warped, uneven, as if the ground beneath had settled or something had disturbed the foundation. He called to his partner. They should check the structural integrity before the inspection report. Wayne knelt down and pulled at one of the loose boards. It came up easily, too easily. The nails rusted and weak. The smell hit him first, sweet and chemical and wrong. He stumbled backward, hand over his mouth, but his partner had already seen what lay beneath. Fabric blonde hair matted with dirt. A hand, pale and small, with silver rings still catching the morning light. They would later tell police that the jungle went silent in that moment, as if every living thing had paused to bear witness. The villa had promised healing, transformation, peace. But beneath the very place where guests once practiced sun salutations and set intentions for their new lives, someone had buried a girl who came searching for exactly that. Her name was Maya Chen, and 6 months earlier she had been alive, anxious, and desperate for a version of herself that felt real. At 23, Maya had cultivated the kind of life that looked perfect in two-dimensional squares. 340,000 people followed her journey through filtered sunrises and acai bowls and motivational quotes overlaid on photos of her doing yoga on cliffs. She was a wellness influencer, though she privately hated that word, hated how it reduced her to a category, a demographic, a marketing tool. But it paid her rent. It got her brand partnerships with athletic wear companies and supplement brands and meditation apps. It got her invited to events and given free products and treated like she mattered. The irony wasn't lost on her that she was selling wellness while barely holding herself together. Maya lived in a studio apartment in Silver Lake, Los Angeles, where the rent consumed most of what she made, and the rest went toward maintaining the illusion. The ring light, the good camera, the meal prep containers that showed up in every kitchen shot. Her mornings began at 5 so she could film her sunrise routine before the light changed. Green smoothie in hand, smile practiced in the bathroom mirror, gratitude journal open to a carefully worded entry about abundance and growth. She posted it all by 7 and then collapsed back into bed, sometimes sleeping until noon, sometimes crying into her pillow because the performance was so exhausting she couldn't remember what she actually felt anymore. The breaking point had been her ex-boyfriend, Tyler. They'd dated for 8 months and she'd been careful, so careful, not to post about him too much. She knew her audience wanted aspiration, not complication. But Tyler had resented being kept off camera, had accused her of caring more about strangers online than about him, and when they finally broke up, he posted a long thread on Twitter exposing what he called her fake authenticity. He shared screenshots of her deleting negative comments, of her asking him to retake couple photos 15 times until they looked effortless, of her admitting in a vulnerable moment that she sometimes wished she'd never started the account at all. The thread went viral. 30,000 retweets. Her comment section became a war zone. Half her followers called her a fraud. The other half defended her with an intensity that somehow felt worse, like they needed her to be perfect so their own aspirations could survive. Maya tried to keep posting. She addressed it once, saying everyone curates their life to some degree, and she was just trying to make a living like anyone else. But the anxiety that had always hummed beneath the surface became a scream she couldn't silence. She started having panic attacks before filming. Her hands would shake so badly she'd have to do 20 takes of a simple talking head video. She went to a doctor who prescribed her Lexapro and Xanax and told her to reduce stress, which made her laugh because stress was her entire business model. She felt ashamed of the medications, ashamed that she needed help, ashamed that the girl who posted about green juice cleanses and manifestation couldn't fix her own broken brain chemistry. Her best friend Jess noticed first. They'd met in college, before Instagram, before wellness became an industry Maya accidentally joined. Jess worked in graphic design and had a normal life with normal problems and didn't understand the specific hell of performing happiness for an audience that both loved and hated you. But she loved Maya, the real Maya, the one who used to laugh until she snorted and eat pizza at 2 in the morning and admit when she was scared that Maya had been disappearing for years. They met for lunch at a cafe in Los Feliz on a Tuesday afternoon. Maya ordered a salad she wouldn't finish, and Jess watched her push arugula around her plate while scrolling through her phone with the other hand, checking engagement rates, reading comments she should have ignored. Jess reached across the table and took the phone from her hand. "Maya," she said, "you look like a ghost. When's the last time you did something just because you wanted to, not because it would make good content?" Maya opened her mouth to answer and realized she couldn't remember. Everything had become content. Every meal, every outfit, every sunset. Even her breakdown was something she'd considered documenting, a raw and real post about mental health that would probably perform well with her demographic. "I can't do this anymore," Maya whispered. "I feel like I'm drowning and everyone's watching me drown and hitting the like button. I don't know who I am when I'm not performing. I don't know if there's anything left underneath." Jess suggested therapy. Maya was already in therapy. She suggested a break from social media. Maya had tried that and lasted 4 days before the anxiety of losing relevance pulled her back. She suggested getting out of Los Angeles entirely, going somewhere nobody knew her handle or her face, somewhere she could just exist without an audience. The idea landed in Maya's chest like a stone dropping into still water, sending ripples through everything. Yes, that was it. She needed to leave. She needed to go somewhere so far from her current life that she'd have no choice but to find the version of herself that existed before all of this. Bali kept appearing in her algorithm. It was almost laughable how perfectly targeted the ads were. Retreat centers promising transformation. Jungle villas offering digital detoxes. Before and after photos of women who looked just like her, hollow-eyed and desperate in the first image, glowing and renewed in the second. Maya knew it was marketing. She knew the algorithm was feeding her exactly what her search history suggested she wanted. But God, she wanted it anyway. She wanted to believe that getting on a plane and surrendering to someone else's program could fix what was broken inside her. She found Sanctuary Bali on a Thursday night, 3 weeks after the lunch with Jess, when she was supposed to be editing a sponsored post about adaptogens but instead was spiraling through Instagram at 2 in the morning. It was a smaller operation than the big-name retreats. The account only had 18,000 followers. The woman who ran it was named Katarina Moss. British accent in the video clips. Early 40s, beautiful in that effortless way that came from either genetics or expensive work. Maya couldn't tell which. Katarina's philosophy was something she called authentic embodiment. She only took 3 to 4 guests at a time. Personalized healing journeys, no phones, no social media, no performing. Just you and the jungle and the work of becoming whole again. The testimonials were almost too perfect. Women crying on camera about how Katarina had saved them, how they'd arrived broken and left transformed, how Sanctuary Bali wasn't just a retreat, it was a homecoming. Maya watched every video on the account, read every caption, scrolled through the tagged photos of guests with flower crowns and genuine smiles and eyes that looked clear for the first time in years. She knew she should be skeptical. She knew this was exactly the kind of thing vulnerable people fell for. But she also knew she was vulnerable and falling and needed someone to catch her. The price was listed in the bio. $4,000 per month, all inclusive. Private sessions with Katarina, organic meals grown on the property, jungle immersion experiences, plant medicine ceremonies. Maya did the math in her head. She had savings, not much, but enough for 2 months if she was careful. 2 months away from Los Angeles, from the pressure, from herself. 2 months to figure out who she'd be if she quit all of this. 2 months to decide if she wanted to come back at all. She sent a direct message inquiry. Within an hour, Katarina responded personally. "Maya, I've been looking at your account, and I can see your light is dimmed. You're giving so much to others that you've lost yourself in the transaction. You don't need to perform here. You don't need to be anything but exactly who you are beneath all the noise. Come home to yourself. We have space in our next container starting April 15th. I'd be honored to hold space for your healing." Maya read the message 5 times. She wanted to feel skeptical, but instead felt seen. Katarina understood. She got it in a way that Jess couldn't, that her therapist couldn't, that the people in her comments section definitely couldn't. This woman on the other side of the world who ran a villa in the Balinese jungle somehow saw through the curated feed and the perfect captions and recognized the girl underneath who was so tired of pretending. She booked the 2 months that night, sent the deposit through PayPal, started making lists of what to pack. She told her parents she was taking a break for her mental health, and they were worried but supportive. She told Jess, who was more skeptical, "Have you researched this place? Do you know anyone who's been there? What if it's a scam?" Maya got defensive. Why couldn't anyone just be happy for her? Why did everyone assume she was making another mistake? She just needed this. She needed to try. 2 weeks before her flight, she started prepping her audience. Posted less frequently. Talked vaguely about needing to step back and listen to her intuition. The comments were mixed. Some people said she was being irresponsible to her brand. Others said, "Good for you, we'll be here when you get back." A few sent worried messages saying they hoped she was okay, that they'd noticed she seemed different lately, that they were there if she needed anything. Maya appreciated those messages but didn't respond to most of them. She was already half gone, already imagining the version of herself that would exist on the other side of this journey. The night before her flight, she packed her suitcase. Comfortable clothes. Journals. A few books she'd been meaning to read. No makeup, no ring light, no tripod. She charged her phone fully and screenshotted Katerina's address and directions to the villa. She set her Instagram to private and pinned a post to her feed. A photo of her plane ticket to Denpasar and one line of text. Finding my way back, she slept badly that night. Woke up at 4 in the morning with her heart racing and the Xanax prescription on her nightstand looking tempting. She took half a pill, told herself this was just fear of change, resistance to growth, all the things Katerina had warned her about in their message exchanges. Growth is uncomfortable, Maya. Your ego will fight to keep you small and safe. Trust the process. Trust yourself. Trust me. Maya arrived at LAX 6 hours before her flight because she couldn't stand being in her apartment anymore. She sat at the gate and watched other travelers and wondered who among them was also running towards something that looked like salvation. She wondered if any of them were making the same mistake. She wondered if it mattered. At some point, you just had to choose to trust something, to believe that surrender wasn't the same as giving up. The flight was 14 hours with a layover in Tokyo. Maya slept through most of it, the Xanax still in her system, her dreams strange and tropical. When she landed in Denpasar, the humidity hit her like a wall. Everything smelled like rain and exhaust and something sweet she couldn't name. She collected her bag and walked outside into the chaos of taxi drivers and tour guides and people holding signs with names she didn't recognize. A young Balinese man approached her holding a sign that said Maya Chen, Sanctuary Bali. She followed him to a van. They drove for 2 hours into the interior of the island, past rice paddies and temples and tourist shops selling sarongs and wooden masks. The roads got narrower, more rutted. The jungle closed in on both sides. Maya's phone lost signal. She watched the last bar disappear and felt something between panic and relief. No more notifications, no more comments, no more performing. Just this van and this road and whatever waited at the end of it. The villa appeared suddenly, a break in the green, high walls, a wooden gate. The driver pulled up and honked twice. The gate opened, and there she was, Katerina. Even more beautiful in person. White linen pants and a loose cotton top and bare feet, and a smile that felt like coming home. She walked to the van and opened Maya's door and pulled her into a hug before Maya could even say hello. "Welcome," she whispered into Maya's hair. "You made it. You're safe now. Everything begins here." Maya felt tears in her eyes and didn't know why. Relief, maybe. Exhaustion. Hope. The dangerous kind of hope that made you believe a stranger could save you. She grabbed her suitcase and followed Katerina through the gate. Behind her, the driver pulled away and the gate closed and the jungle swallowed the sound of the van's engine until there was nothing but birdsong and the rush of distant water and Katerina's voice saying, "Let me show you to your room. Let me show you where your healing begins." If Maya had turned around in that moment, she might have noticed the gate had a lock on the inside. She might have seen that the high walls were designed not to keep people out, but to keep them in. She might have recognized the feeling in her chest not as hope, but as the last moment before a trap closes. But she didn't turn around. She walked forward into the villa with her suitcase and her journals and her desperate need to become someone different. She walked forward and the gate locked behind her, and 6 months later workers would find her beneath the yoga deck where she practiced her final sun salutations, silver rings still on her fingers, still searching for peace. The villa was more beautiful than the photos suggested. Maya's room opened onto a private balcony that overlooked the ravine, bamboo railings draped with flowering vines she couldn't name. The bed was draped in white linen mosquito netting. There was a small altar with candles and crystals and a handwritten card that read, "Welcome home, Maya." The bathroom had a stone tub and organic toiletries, and a window that framed a view of jungle so green it hurt to look at. Everything smelled like frangipani and sandalwood. Everything felt intentional, curated, safe. Katerina gave her an hour to settle in, and then knocked softly on the door. She brought tea on a wooden tray, 2 cups steaming with something herbal and golden. She sat cross-legged on Maya's bed like they were old friends and said, "We don't do small talk here. We don't perform politeness or pretend everything is fine when it's not. So tell me, Maya, what truly brought you to Sanctuary Bali? What are you running from and what are you running toward?" Maya hadn't expected to cry so quickly, but the question opened something in her chest that had been locked for months. She told Katerina everything. The breakup and the viral thread and the comments section that felt like drowning, the panic attacks and the medications and the shame of needing help, the exhaustion of performing happiness, the terror that there was nothing underneath the performance, that she'd deleted her real self so completely that all that remained was the algorithm-approved version. She talked for 30 minutes while Katerina listened with a presence that felt almost supernatural, like she could hear not just the words but the pain underneath them. When Maya finally went quiet, Katerina reached across and took her hand. "Your nervous system is in collapse," she said. "You've been in fight or flight for so long, your body doesn't remember what safety feels like. That's what we do here. We teach you to feel safe again, to trust yourself again, to remember that you are not your trauma and you are not your performance. You are the consciousness witnessing both. The next 2 months are about stripping away everything that isn't essentially you and meeting what remains." Maya felt something loosen in her chest. Yes, that was exactly what she needed. Someone who understood, someone who could guide her back to herself. Katerina explained the structure of Sanctuary Bali. Mornings began at 6 with silent meditation and cacao ceremony. Breakfast was communal. Then private sessions with Katerina, alternating between breathwork, somatic therapy, and what she called shadow integration work. Afternoons were for journaling, rest, or jungle walks. Evenings were group dinners followed by sharing circles. Once a week they did plant medicine ceremonies, working with psilocybin or ayahuasca or sometimes just deep guided meditation, whatever each person's system needed for breakthrough. "There are 2 other guests here right now," Katerina said. "Inge is from Germany, healing from a divorce. She's in deep work so she might seem distant. And Sam is from Australia, working through trauma from his childhood. He's been here for 6 weeks and is just starting to open up. Everyone moves at their own pace. You're not here to fix them or be fixed by them. You're here to do your own work. But community matters. Healing doesn't happen in isolation." Maya met the others at dinner that first night. The dining area was an open-air pavilion with a long wooden table lit by candles and oil lamps. Inge was in her 40s, angular and blonde and so thin Maya wondered if eating was part of what she was healing from. She nodded at Maya but didn't speak, pushed vegetables around her plate with the focused intensity of someone trying not to be present. Sam was younger, maybe late 20s, with dark curly hair and the kind of face that looked like it smiled easily but wasn't smiling now. He met Maya's eyes across the table and gave her a small acknowledging nod that felt like welcome to the club. "We're all broken here." Katerina served the food herself, everything grown on the property or sourced from local farmers. Jackfruit curry and rice and vegetables cooked in coconut milk. Maya ate slowly, hyper-aware of being watched, of needing to appear grateful and open and ready to heal. After dinner, Katerina led them to the sharing circle, cushions arranged in a circle around a small fire. She asked each of them to set an intention for the evening. Inge said something in broken English about releasing the past. Sam said he intended to stay present. Maya said she intended to find herself again and heard how desperately naive it sounded. The first 2 weeks unfolded like a dream. Maya woke before dawn to the sound of gamelan music playing softly through speakers hidden in the jungle. She meditated on her balcony while the sun rose over the ravine. She drank cacao that made her heart race and her thoughts spiral into strange philosophical territories. She cried during breathwork sessions, huge racking sobs that came from somewhere so deep she didn't know she'd been holding them. Katerina held space for it all with a calm that felt unshakable. She would place one hand on Maya's heart and one on her belly and say, "Let it move through you, don't hold it. You're safe to feel everything you've been running from." Maya wrote pages and pages in her journal. Memories from childhood she hadn't thought about in years. Resentments toward her parents, anger at Tyler, grief for the version of herself she'd performed away. Katerina read the journals each evening, said it was part of the process, that she needed to understand Maya's inner landscape to guide her properly. Maya felt exposed, but also seen. No one had ever paid this much attention to her inner world before. But small things began to shift in ways Maya couldn't quite name. Katerina started discouraging her from going into Ubud town. The first time Maya mentioned wanting to walk to the village to buy toiletries, Katerina's face clouded with concern. "You'll break your energetic container," she said. "You're in such deep work right now, such a delicate space. The energy of town, all those tourists and transactions and noise, it will pull you back into your old patterns. Everything you need is here. I can have someone bring you whatever you need. Just make a list." Maya made a list. The items arrived 2 days later. She didn't ask how much they cost or offer to pay. It seemed rude to bring up money in a place focused on healing. Katerina also began suggesting that Maya limit contact with her family. Her parents had texted a few times in the first week, and Maya had responded with brief updates. "I'm good. The villa is beautiful, doing lots of inner work." Her mom wanted to FaceTime, and Maya had told Katerina this, expecting approval, but instead Katerina had looked troubled. "Your family holds your old identity," she said. "Every time you talk to them, you reinforce the neural pathways of who you used to be. You came here to become someone new. That requires space. That requires you to temporarily let go of the people who need you to stay the same. It's not forever. It's just for now. Just for the container of this healing." It made sense when Katerina said it. It made so much sense that Maya didn't question why it also made her feel uneasy. She texted her mom saying she was going deeper into the work and would be offline for a while. Her mom sent back a string of worried emojis. Maya turned off her phone to avoid the guilt. The phone died 3 days later, and when Maya asked Katerina if she had a charger, Katerina said, "Oh God, I'm so sorry, mine doesn't fit your model. I'll order one online. It should arrive next week." The week came and went. Maya asked again. Katerina said the delivery got delayed. "You know how things are in Bali, everything takes forever. I'll follow up." But also, how does it feel to be without it? Maya admitted it felt freeing and terrifying in equal measure. Katerina smiled. "That's your attachment pattern showing itself. We can work with that." Maya stopped asking about the charger. Inge left suddenly in the 3rd week. Maya woke one morning and Inge's room was empty, her things gone, no goodbye. At breakfast, Maya asked Katerina what happened, and Katerina's face did something complicated. Sadness and disappointment, and something harder underneath. "Inge wasn't ready to heal," she said. "She had a spiritual emergency during our last session. Sometimes people come here expecting transformation to be easy, expecting me to fix them without them having to do the hard work of facing themselves. When it gets difficult, when the ego starts to die, some people run. I tried to convince her to stay, but she insisted. She left this morning. I'm heartbroken for her. She was so close to breakthrough." Maya felt a chill run through her despite the humid heat. "What kind of spiritual emergency?" Katerina's eyes met hers with an intensity that felt like a warning. "That's private, Maya. We honor each other's processes here. What happens in session stays in session. But I will say this. The work we do here is powerful. It brings up everything you've repressed. If you're not ready to meet your shadow, it can be destabilizing. That's why trust is so important. That's why you have to surrender to the process even when it's terrifying." Maya nodded like she understood. But that night she lay in bed and thought about Inge's hollow eyes and wondered what she'd seen in her sessions that made her run. She wondered if she should be scared too. But fear felt like resistance, and resistance felt like ego. And Katerina had taught her that the ego was the enemy of transformation. So she breathed through the fear and told herself to trust. Sam became more present after Inge left. He started sitting next to Maya at meals. He'd been so quiet the first 2 weeks that Maya had almost forgotten he was there. But now he seemed to emerge from whatever internal cave he'd been hiding in. He asked her questions about her life in Los Angeles. He told her about growing up in Sydney with an alcoholic father and a mother who pretended everything was fine. He'd tried to kill himself at 19 and spent years in therapy that never quite worked. He'd found Katerina through a friend who swore she'd saved his life. He'd been at Sanctuary Bali for 2 months now and was planning to stay another month. "Does it work?" Maya asked him one afternoon when they were alone on the yoga deck. "Do you feel healed?" Sam looked out at the jungle for a long time before answering. "I feel different," he said. "I don't know if that's the same as healed, but I'm not who I was when I got here. I'm not sure I could go back to normal life now even if I wanted to." Katerina showed me things about myself I didn't know existed sometimes. I think she knows me better than I know myself. Maya understood exactly what he meant. Katerina had a way of seeing through you that felt like being known for the first time. But it also felt like being possessed. Like you were becoming what she saw instead of discovering what was already there. The plant medicine ceremony happened in her 4th week. Katerina had been preparing her for it all week, talking about the importance of intention, of surrender, of being willing to face whatever arose. They would be working with psilocybin mushrooms, a moderate dose, in a guided container. Sam would be there too. It was safe, it was held, it was how they did the deepest work. The ceremony began at sunset. They gathered in a circular room Maya hadn't been in before, walls draped with tapestries, floor covered in cushions and blankets. Katerina lit copal incense and played a singing bowl and spoke in a voice that seemed to come from somewhere ancient about setting intentions and calling in protection and being willing to die to who you were in order to be reborn. Maya drank the mushroom tea. It tasted like earth and bitterness. Sam drank his. They lay back on the cushions and waited. The first hour was gentle. Colors became more vivid. Sounds became dimensional. Maya felt her body dissolving into the cushions, felt the boundaries between herself and the room softening. Katerina's voice became a thread she could follow through the labyrinth of her own mind. But then something shifted. The visions turned dark. Maya saw herself buried alive, dirt filling her mouth and nose and eyes. She saw her Instagram feed scrolling endlessly over her corpse. She saw Katerina's face multiplying into 1,000 versions, all watching her, all smiling. She tried to speak, to say she wanted to stop, but her voice wouldn't work. She felt hands on her, moving her, touching her. She heard Sam crying somewhere far away. She heard Katerina saying, "This is breakthrough, not breakdown. Stay with it. Let it move through you." Maya woke 12 hours later in her own bed with no memory of how she got there. Her body felt wrong, bruised in places she couldn't explain. Her mouth tasted like metal. Katerina was sitting in the chair by the window watching her. "Welcome back," she said softly. "You went deep last night. You touched something profound. How do you feel?" Maya felt violated. She felt terrified. She felt like something had been taken from her that she couldn't name. But Katerina's eyes were so kind, so certain, and Maya's thoughts were so foggy she couldn't trust her own perceptions. "I don't remember," she whispered. "What happened?" Katerina smiled. "You met your shadow. You screamed and you cried and you released years of trauma. It was beautiful. You're going to feel raw for a few days, but that's normal. That's integration. Just rest. Just trust that your system knows what it's doing." Maya wanted to believe her. She needed to believe her. Because if she didn't believe Katerina, then she had to believe that something terrible had happened in that ceremony room, and she couldn't hold that possibility. So she nodded and accepted the tea Katerina offered, and drank it even though it made her feel strange and sleepy. She spent the next 3 days in a fog, moving through the routines of the villa like a ghost, barely speaking, barely eating. Sam found her on the yoga deck one morning. He sat beside her, and for a long time neither of them spoke. Then he said quietly, "I feel it too, the strangeness, the sense that something's wrong." Maya turned to look at him and saw her own fear reflected back. "Have you tried to leave?" she asked. Sam's jaw tightened. "Once. A few weeks ago. The gate was locked. Katerina said it was for our safety, that the jungle was dangerous at night, that people have gotten lost. She was so calm about it, so reasonable. I felt crazy for questioning it." Maya's heart started racing. "We should leave together. Just walk out. Go to town and call someone." Sam shook his head. "Where would we go? We don't have phones. We don't have money. We don't even know exactly where we are. And Katerina, she'll convince us we're just having a healing crisis. She'll make us doubt ourselves. She's good at that." "But you feel it too," Maya said desperately. "You feel that this isn't right." Sam looked at her with something like pity. "I don't know what I feel anymore. That's the problem. She's gotten so deep into my head I can't tell which thoughts are mine and which are hers. But I think," he paused, "I think we should trust the process. Just a little longer." She told me I was on the edge of breakthrough. Maybe you are too. Maybe we just have to surrender more completely. Maya felt ice in her veins. Sam was lost. He'd been here too long. Katerina had already won with him. She was on her own. She decided to leave the next morning, packed a small bag with her passport and journal and the cash she'd brought for emergencies. She waited until she heard Katerina in the kitchen preparing breakfast, and then walked quietly to the gate. Her hand was on the lock when Katerina's voice came from behind her. "Where are you going, Maya?" Maya turned. Katerina stood in the garden path, barefoot, white dress, expression unreadable. "I need to leave," Maya said, trying to keep her voice steady. "I appreciate everything you've done, but I just need to go." Katerina walked closer, slowly, like approaching a frightened animal. "You're running from your healing again. You're right on the edge of breakthrough, and your ego is terrified, so it's creating this narrative that you're in danger, that you need to escape." "But Maya," she reached out and touched Maya's face. "You came here because you were lost. You came here because your old life was killing you. Are you really going to run back to that? Are you really going to choose your addiction to suffering over the possibility of transformation?" Maya felt her certainty crumbling. Was Katerina right? Was this just fear? Was she sabotaging herself again like she'd sabotaged everything else? I feel like something's wrong," she said weakly. "I can't explain it, but something feels wrong." Katerina pulled her into a hug, stroked her hair. "Of course it feels wrong. Death always feels wrong. But you have to die to who you were in order to become who you're meant to be. Trust me, Maya." 2 more weeks. Give me 2 more weeks, and if you still want to leave, I'll drive you to the airport myself. But please don't abandon yourself when you're this close to freedom." Maya started crying. She let Katerina lead her back to her room. She let her make tea and tuck her into bed like a child. She let her whisper that everything would be okay, that this was all part of the process, that she was safe and held and exactly where she needed to be. And Maya wanted to believe it so desperately that she ignored the voice screaming in the back of her mind that safety and captivity could look exactly the same. She ignored the fact that the gate was still locked. She ignored the fact that her phone was still dead and Inge was still gone and Sam was still lost and she was still here. She closed her eyes and surrendered because Katerina told her to, and because she didn't know how to trust herself anymore, and because the alternative was admitting she'd walked into a trap disguised as salvation. And by the time she realized it, the door had already closed behind her. Maya woke in the middle of the night to the sound of voices, low and urgent and coming from somewhere outside her window. She lay still in the darkness, heart hammering, listening. The voices were arguing. One was Katerina, the other was Sam. Maya slipped out of bed and crept to the window, staying hidden behind the curtain. They were in the garden below, illuminated by moonlight filtering through the jungle canopy. She couldn't hear full sentences, just fragments carried on the night air. Sam's voice first, strained and pleading. "We can't keep doing this." She's starting to ask questions. What if she finds out? Katerina's response was quieter, harder to catch, but Maya heard enough. "Just like the others. She'll understand when it's time. You said you were committed to the work, Sam. Don't fail me now." The others. Maya's blood went cold. What others? Inge. Who else? How many people had come to Sanctuary Bali searching for healing and never left? She pressed her back against the wall, breathing shallow, trying to make sense of what she'd heard. Sam was working with Katerina. The kind, damaged boy who'd seemed like an ally was part of whatever this was. She'd trusted him. She'd told him she felt something was wrong, and he'd convinced her to stay. Maya's mind raced through her options. She had no phone, no money, no way to contact anyone. The gate was locked and she didn't know where the key was kept. But Katerina's office. She'd been in there once to borrow a pen. There had been a desk, a laptop, filing cabinets. Maybe there was information there. Maybe there was a phone. Maybe there was proof of what was happening here. She waited until the voices faded, until she heard the main house go quiet. Then she slipped out of her room, barefoot on the wooden walkway, every creak of the boards sounding like a scream in the silence. The office was in a separate building near the kitchen. The door was unlocked. Maya pushed it open and stepped inside, closed it softly behind her. She didn't dare turn on the light. Used the moonlight from the window to navigate. The desk was covered in papers, receipts, handwritten notes, and Katerina's looping script. Maya shuffled through them with shaking hands. Supply orders. Grocery lists. Nothing incriminating. She tried the laptop, but it was password protected. Then she opened the desk drawer. The passports were in a manila folder, stacked like playing cards. Maya pulled them out and her hands started trembling so badly she almost dropped them. 4 passports. 4 different women. Different years, different nationalities. British, American, Canadian, Australian. All blonde, all in their 20s. All with that same hopeful, desperate look in their photos that Maya recognized from her own passport picture. Women who'd come here looking for healing. Under the passports were newspaper clippings, printed articles, missing persons reports. Melbourne woman vanishes. During Bali retreat, family seeks information on daughter missing in Indonesia. British wellness influencer disappears without trace. The photos were the same women from the passports. The dates ranged over 4 years. Maya read one article with growing horror. The missing British woman, Sophie Reynolds, had last been seen at a wellness villa called Sanctuary Bali. Police had investigated but found nothing. The villa had been closed when they arrived, the owner gone, no forwarding information. Maya realized with sickening clarity what she was looking at. Katerina had done this before, multiple times. She opened healing villas, lured vulnerable women, and then what? Killed them, kept them, made them disappear. And then she moved, changed names, opened a new villa, started the cycle again. Sam wasn't a victim. He was her accomplice. The damaged boy who needed healing was just another performance. Maya shoved the passports and articles back in the drawer. She needed to leave, not now, right now. She looked around the office for a phone and found none. But there was a window. She could climb out, run through the jungle, find the road, flag down a car, get to police. She didn't care if she got lost. She didn't care if it was dangerous. Staying here was more dangerous. She pushed the window open and climbed through, dropped into the garden. The jungle at night was alive with sounds she couldn't identify. Insects and birds and things moving through the undergrowth. She ran toward where she remembered the entrance being, branches whipping at her face, roots trying to trip her. The villa was built on a slope and she had to navigate by memory in the darkness. Her breath came in ragged gasps. She could hear her heartbeat in her ears. The road. She found the muddy path that led to the main road, started running down it, her feet slipping in the wet earth. How far was it to town? 5 kilometers? 10? She didn't know. She just ran. And then she heard the engine behind her, headlights cutting through the jungle. She ran faster, but the scooter was gaining. She tried to flag it down, waving her arms, screaming for help. But it wasn't help, it was Sam. He pulled up beside her, engine idling, face twisted with something between guilt and resignation. Maya, stop. You don't understand. You're making this worse. Get on. I'll take you back. We can talk about this. Maya backed away, shaking her head. You lied to me. You're helping her. What did you do to those women? Sam's expression hardened. Get on the scooter, Maya. Don't make me chase you. She ran again, heard him gun the engine behind her. The road curved sharply and she took the turn too fast, her feet slipping out from under her on the wet mud. She hit the ground hard, felt the breath knocked out of her lungs. Before she could get up, Sam was there, dragging her to her feet. She fought him, screaming, clawing at his face. He was stronger. He grabbed her arms and twisted them behind her back and started pulling her toward the scooter. A real vehicle appeared then, headlights brighter. A car. Maya screamed for help. The car slowed. A local driver leaned out, looking concerned. Sam yelled something in broken Indonesian. The driver hesitated. Maya screamed, "Please help me, he's kidnapping me." But the driver looked at Sam, looked at Maya covered in mud and hysterical, and must have decided this was a domestic dispute or a drunk tourist because he pulled away, shaking his head. Maya felt something break inside her. No one was coming, no one would save her. Sam dragged her back onto the scooter and drove her back up the muddy path to the villa. Katerina was waiting at the gate. She didn't look angry. She looked disappointed. Almost sad. You were so close to transformation, Maya. But you couldn't surrender your ego. You couldn't trust. Just like Sophie. Just like the others. They all fought it in the end. Maya tried to run again when Sam let go of her, but Katerina grabbed her wrist with surprising strength. Sam held her other arm. They walked her through the garden to the yoga deck. The deck she'd practiced sun salutations on every morning. The deck that overlooked the ravine and the jungle canopy. Maya's mind was screaming, but her body felt disconnected, heavy, like the mushroom tea they'd given her so many times had left her unable to fully control her own limbs. She looked at Sam and saw tears on his face. "I'm sorry," he whispered. "I didn't want this, but she saved me. She owns me. I can't leave. I tried once and she found me and I realized I'd rather be here helping her than out there being nothing." Maya understood then. Sam was as much a victim as she was. Just one who'd broken so completely he'd become part of the machinery of his own captivity. Katerina's voice was soft, almost tender. "Your light will feed this land, Maya. All the women who come here, they're searching for something they think they've lost, but they haven't lost it. They've given it away to a world that consumes and discards them. I give them peace. I let them stop performing. I let them stop suffering. You should be grateful." The last thing Maya saw was the yoga deck, the bamboo slats being pulled up. The last thing she felt was the earth beneath her. The last thing she heard was Katerina whispering something about surrender and transformation and how death was just another kind of healing. And then there was nothing but darkness and dirt and the weight of the jungle above her, and the terrible irony that she'd come to Bali to find peace, and she'd found it, just not the kind she'd imagined. 6 months passed. Maya's best friend Jess had been calling the U.S. Embassy in Jakarta every week. Maya's parents had filed missing persons reports, but Bali swallowed people sometimes. Young travelers looking for enlightenment who found oblivion instead. The local police had done a cursory investigation, visited the villa, found it empty. Katerina and Sam had vanished the day after they buried Maya, likely to another country, another identity, another villa, where broken people would come seeking salvation. But Jess wouldn't stop. She hired a private investigator. She contacted every wellness retreat in Ubud. She posted on travel forums and Instagram and anywhere people might have information. She sent the embassy documentation showing that Sanctuary Bali's website had existed and then been scrubbed from the internet. She sent screenshots of Maya's last messages mentioning Katerina's name. She made enough noise that finally, reluctantly, the embassy pressured local authorities to do a real welfare check. The renovation workers found Maya's body on a Tuesday morning when the mist was still thick and the jungle was quiet. They found 2 other bodies beneath the yoga deck as well. skeletal remains that forensics would later identify through dental records as Sophie Reynolds and Emily Chen, no relation to Maya despite the shared surname. 3 blonde women, 3 influencers, 3 people who'd traded their curated lives for the promise of authenticity and found only Earth. The investigation revealed that Katerina Moss wasn't her real name. She'd been running similar operations across Southeast Asia for a decade. Thailand, Vietnam, Indonesia, always the same pattern. Small wellness retreats targeting vulnerable women, always moving before anyone could connect the disappearances. Sam's real name was David Porter. He'd been reported missing in Bali 3 years earlier. He'd likely started as a victim and been groomed into an accomplice. Interpol issued warrants, but the trail went cold in Cambodia. They were ghosts now. New names, new faces, probably already building another sanctuary somewhere. Maya's Instagram account became a memorial. 340,000 followers posting condolences and crying emojis and ripped comments on photos of her doing yoga on cliffs, drinking green smoothies, smiling at sunrises. Her last post, the plane ticket with the caption, "Finding My Way Back," became a haunting testament to how desperately she'd wanted to escape herself, and how that desperation had been weaponized against her. Her parents established a foundation to warn travelers about unregulated wellness retreats. They lobbied for better oversight, better protections, better ways to track people who vanished chasing transformation in foreign lands. The villa was torn down. The land sold to developers who planned to build luxury villas for tourists, but the workers said the land felt wrong. Heavy. Several quit the project. Locals whispered that the jungle had memory, that the women buried there had left an imprint. The development stalled, and eventually the land was abandoned again, left to be reclaimed by vines and roots and the endless green. Maya Chen went to Bali searching for the person she was before the world demanded she be perfect. She wanted to strip away the performance and find something authentic underneath. She found someone who promised to show her exactly that. Who promised that surrender was the path to freedom. Who promised that letting go of control would lead to peace. But the cruelest lie wasn't that healing was possible. It was that surrender and imprisonment could look so much alike. That the language of transformation could be used to disguise captivity. That someone could promise to help you find yourself while systematically erasing you. In the end, Maya did find peace. She stopped performing. She stopped caring what anyone thought. She stopped trying to be anything other than what she was. But it wasn't the enlightenment she'd imagined during those early morning meditations. It wasn't the breakthrough Katerina had promised. It was just silence and earth, and the final surrender that comes when you realize too late that the person offering to save you was the one you needed saving from. She found her way back. Just not to the place she thought she was going. She came home to herself and discovered that home was a grave beneath a yoga deck where other lost girls had come to rest, still wearing their silver rings, still waiting for transformation, still searching for peace in the only place they would ever find it now.